Great. Just started. I'm going to mute you again, Lori.
Pardon me?
Lori, heat is coming from your mic. So I've muted you, and just to orient everyone before we begin, if you take a look at your you should have a Gotomeeting control panel on the right side of your computer screen if you're with us online. And at the bottom of that, you'll see the word chat with a little triangle by it. If you click that, it'll open your chat window, and you can always type a message to everyone or to specific attendees. You'll see underneath the chat window, it says who you're typing to. So especially if I need to mute you to minimize background noise, you'll just need to type in the chat when you'd like to speak. So for the most part, I'll try to keep you unmuted, but if we start having a lot of echo or background noise, I'll mute people. So we're gonna get started. Just so everybody knows, we are recording this, and we generally intend to record these sessions and share them online. So if anyone has issues with that, please let me know. You can type something in the chat. So we can be sensitive to your needs, but overall, we would really like to record and share these. So I've lost track of the number of sessions we've had, but this is another in a series of weekly online meetings that we've been hosting to just help people learn more in depth about mutual aid networks and what they're all about and how we're developing them. So we're doing them live, and we're also recording them to post online. And this is leading up to an in-person summit that we're going to be hosting here in Madison, Wisconsin, August 20th to 28th, and we really hope you'll join us for that. All of this is in service of launching mutual aid networks, which are a new type of cooperative designed to pull together a lot of different types of resource sharing and exchange tools that people have been using for a long time, pull them together in a coherent system that's really designed to change the dynamics of how our economy works and create an economy that works for us and our communities and our planet rather than the other way around. So we'll start with some quick introductions. If you could say who you are, where you are, and just very briefly what your area of interest is here, whether you're with a local project, what kind of project that is, or what it is that draws you to this. So I'm Stephanie Rearick in Madison, Wisconsin, and I want the kind of world that only a different kind of economy could help bring about. So Chris, you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Chris Petit. I live in Oak Park outside of Chicago and also work with Stephanie on coordinating mutual aid networks.
Thank you. Barry?
Hi, I'm Barry Corin, also in Oak Park, first suburb west of the Loop in Chicago, working on building working on a community building tool to bring people together. Time banking is a very important part of that.
Great, thank you. Bruce.
Bruce Moffett, based in Madison, Wisconsin. Looking forward to meeting many of you later this month, working on Dane County Time Bank, part of my time working with Stephanie and Chris on launching the Mutual Aid Network and the Summit.
Great, thank you. Hassan. Hassan, are you there?
His audio might not be connected yet.
All right. Oh, here, I just saw his phone come online. Hello, Hassan. If you are available to introduce yourself, that's great.
That's kind of spooky that you guys knew it was me.
You know, we can see all the attendees on the control panel of Gotomeeting.
Okay.
You are not anonymous. Go ahead. Hi. Welcome.
Hassan Beth and Janelle Zelko from Lehigh Valley, Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Great. And do you want to just say a couple words about your project that you have there?
We work for the Neighborhood Health Centers of the Lehigh Valley, which is a local federally qualified health center, and we're looking at becoming one of the pilot sites for the Mutual Aid Network. We want to start a Lehigh Valley We haven't decided on we're working on the name, whether it's the community justice or social justice partnership. And we have been working at looking at how issues of justice impact wellness and health, and what are some of the structural barriers in the community, and how we can work with folks through neighborhood care teams. We've been doing time banking with a super utilizer partnership, which is one of the projects working with some of the most folks with complex needs and have high hospitalizations and ER visits, help them decrease those. And that's the 45-second version.
Great, thank you. Super exciting. And did Janelle, did you want to say anything?
Sure. We're also working, one of our plans is to introduce time banking with re-entering populations. So that would be formerly incarcerated individuals, individuals recovering from addiction, young adults who have aged out of the foster care system. So we're really excited about that as well.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Great. Laura?
Hi, I'm Laura Garrett in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm volunteering with the Time Bank and also with the MAN project, trying to get the conference going right now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Lori Heath.
Hello, my name is Lori Heath. I'm calling in from St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, right here on the most easterly point in North America. I'm working to relaunch a mutual credit system here in St. John's, but I've long been very interested in how to integrate a variety of different new economic models, for, in short, along with a mutual credit system.
Great. Thank you so much. Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott Murto. I'm in Lansing, Michigan, and I'm with the Mid-Michigan Mutual Aid Network that will be forming shortly, and been helping Stephanie to launch the MAN project, and looking forward to having Lansing be a pilot site and having the participation of our local makers network and trade cooperatives and business cooperatives as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Is anyone else with us that I don't see? Okay. So first of all, I want to be clear that all of these learning summits and sessions that we're doing are really about us all learning from each other. We are collectively making this up as we go. So today's session is about creating checklists to help people learn how to become pilot projects. But as I think most of you know who are on this, we're really just starting, and so we're just exploring this ourselves. So a number of us on this call have been through part of a process for becoming pilot projects, and at least speaking for myself, this parallels quite a bit the process we went through to begin our time bank at the beginning. So we've learned a lot, and we can share what we've learned so far. But we really expect to create these kinds of things together. And we feel that what we're presenting today is a very early first draft that you will be contributing to. And then in the in-person summit here from August 20th to 28th, we'll have more sessions where we can really dive into this and create tools and get more thorough and create some things that we can share with other potential pilot projects. So that's the goal, is as we go, we're going to really document everything we do and then work to make it easier and easier for everyone who comes after us, just like we've done in a lot of the communities that we already work in the time banking world and cooperatives and complementary currencies. We continue to just really build on each other's work and share so we can grow faster. So the pilot sites, we've had a couple sessions about pilot sites overall, and I'll reiterate some things that you've already heard. But a strategy that we're pursuing with mutual aid networks is having a number of different sites in different locations around the world, each one starting with different strengths and different limitations, with different local conditions. And we feel that having all these projects working simultaneously and sharing what it is we're doing, we can build rapidly on each other's strengths. We can recognize the things that haven't worked for each other, and we can start to tease out what works best under what local conditions. We can build on the work done by other sites instead of reinventing the wheel. So what we intend to create as mutual aid networks and share via the main man, which is our umbrella co-op that connects all of us, what we aim to create is a lot of tools and templates. So for example, if I want to make a savings pool that brings together my neighbors to put money in a joint account that we can access when we have healthcare expenses, I don't have to invent that. We don't have to start from scratch with our discussion. We can find another community that's done something similar and use the agreements that they made and adapt them to meet our needs. And then we share our adaptations with the rest of the world. And then we're also working on building and sharing and adapting and using different software tools to make these things possible. So right now, the main man, the Umbrella Mutual Aid Network, we're using a kind of software called Weezer, where we are going to manage our projects and share our learning, and also it's our marketplace to exchange resources among the different projects. So already we can exchange time credits and dollars, and soon we'll be able to exchange a lot of other kinds of resources via the main man. So the idea is we're going to make these tools work for us, and then we're going to show the rest of the world how we did it so they can also do it. So pilot sites generally are beginning in an already existing initiative. It doesn't have to be that way, but most of the very first pilot sites are coming from, for example, ours is rooted in a time bank, like Lehigh Valley's is coming out of the Lehigh Valley time bank that out of the hospital there. We have Ithaca Cash is starting with a business mutual credit system. Others are rooted in cooperatives or complementary currencies. But some of the pilot sites will be brand new initiatives. Most of them start with some community experience. And we also think it's really essential that a pilot site or a potential pilot site really evaluate, do you need more than what you have? If what you're doing is meeting all your needs, that's great. If you could use other tools or higher levels of complexity in order to meet your goals, then it's a good time to look at piloting a MAN site. MAN, short for Mutual Aid Network. You need to see a way that participation could be mutually beneficial. Not only can it benefit you to connect with all these other mutual aid networks and share learning, but can you benefit the network? Are you willing to share what you're learning? Are you willing to exchange resources with other mutual aid networks? We really need pilot sites that have committed stewards. So you or someone you work closely with will be taking responsibility, and we definitely are looking for 3-year commitments whenever possible, because it's going to take some time to build this and show the results. And then we also need to know that you're willing and able to secure additional resources to support your local project. So the main mutual aid network and our collaboration overall, we intend to really build on our shared momentum, and we intend to do joint fundraising, crowdfunding campaigns, things like that. But we don't expect to have a central entity of any sort that just supports fully other entities. We all support each other. We are a network of networks, and that's all we are. We're only the sum of our parts, or we're greater than the sum of our parts, but we need all those parts. And we have about 16 potential pilot sites lined up already. And especially those who have been down this road a little bit, I'm going to ask you to really share your own processes. But to start, we're going to talk a little bit about what we have done and what we've identified as pilot site processes. Before we jump into this, I'm going to just give you a chance to ask any questions, or also give Chris or anybody else who might want to begin a chance to just say a few words about the pilot site development process. So does anyone, first of all, have any clarifying questions?
Hi, this is Barry.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have? Are you envisioning partnerships as well as pilot sites?
Absolutely. And do you want to clarify what you mean by partnerships?
Well, so much of what you're after in the man um, works with what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
but some of it doesn't. And so I would love for us to have the mutual supportive, contributing to each other situation.
Yes, absolutely. So, and actually that's something, I would go to it, except I'm not sure exactly what slide it's on. And it's something that we identified before, that a mutual aid network can be, well, it can be anything, and it doesn't have, it can't be anything, but it doesn't have to have a specific legal structure. It doesn't have to use all of the components that we identify as mutual aid network components. So in mutual aid networks, we've identified a number of tools that we know we can connect to really create more thriving cooperative economies. And those are time banking and price-based mutual credit and shared resources, all of these things on these gears. Shared resources, community saving, lending, investment, but no one has to use all of the tools. This is really a way that we can add some complexity, connect a couple things, but there's no mandate of what you use. You don't have to use particular software. You don't have to be a particular type of legal entity. You don't have to use all the tools or even any of the tools. What you do need to do is live within the core principles of mutual aid networks, which you can find here on the website. And there are a couple different types that we've already identified. So one is creating a project that out of whole cloth, that you build a mutual aid network that starts to support a local community initiative. But another one that seems to be emerging more commonly to begin with is partnerships, like what you're referring to, Barry. So an example would be what we're creating here in and around the Social Justice Center. So our Social Justice Center is made up of a number of organizations that work on social justice issues, mostly nonprofit. What we're going to do is pull together those organizations and other local supporters, including businesses in the neighborhood, including co-working spaces and individuals, and we together will become a cooperative that supports the mission. And it'll be a way that, for example, you know, we have our time bank that could be a member, and we have a group that supports housing cooperatives that would be a member. As members of that mutual aid network, we could do a joint funding proposal, for example, or we can own some software tools collectively without having to combine our two organizations. So I think it does kind of fit the function that I hear you getting at, Barry, which is giving people an opportunity to maintain your own autonomy and identity as an organization, yet be linked in a cooperative with other organizations and individuals to serve a common purpose. So you can have that cooperative function and purpose sometimes, and other times be just operating as your own autonomous entity. Is that clear? And does it?
So much of what you're doing fits exactly what we're doing, including the gears and the core principles. But it's the requirements of the becoming a pilot. All of those don't fit.
Yes,
and
so
therefore,
and that would be something that you would look at. So number one, well, we have just approved the preliminary memorandum of agreement for pilot sites, but nothing is fixed forever in this process. This is all intended to be a fluid learning process. So one thing is, if pilot site criteria begin to really not fit a lot of potential pilot sites, that's also up for discussion. But at the same time, you can participate without being a pilot site. You can be a member of the main man as an organization and as an individual, and you don't have to be an official pilot site.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments about pilot sites and checklists for becoming a pilot site? So we will get to that memorandum of agreement since it just came up. You'll learn a little bit what that's about. But just going into the pilot site development process, I'm just going to say this is really just something that Chris and I have identified in our conversations about what we have done so far in Madison and Chicago. And I would really welcome anyone to jump in. Many of you have your own processes. So, but one of the very key pieces is visioning. And I think that's behind everything that we're doing. So first of all, we need to see where we're starting. So since I mentioned that many of these start in an existing initiative, that's easy. You know who your team is to begin with. If you're starting from scratch, you need to think about who your team is, and it's going to have to be based on what your own goals are for the project, bringing it together. This is quite an elaborate discussion to talk about visioning and effective visioning, so we're only just going to touch on it today, and then we'll dive into it during the summit and beyond. But you need to know, first of all, who's doing the visioning, and if you're starting a pilot from scratch as an individual and you're looking for a team, you need to think about what is the very core essence that you care about the most, and give people something to attach to, but also give people a chance to develop their own visions and create something that people generate together. But part of visioning is understanding the need that you want to address. So we've mentioned a number of times a mutual aid network can form, it can be any geographic scope. It could be on my block, or it could be a global travel and culture exchange, or it could be to restore a watershed. So the geography might be determined by the mission, or the mission might be determined partly by your geography. But you need to really identify the need that you're addressing and what your goals are with that. And then, and this is very akin to starting a time bank or starting a lot of community projects, but start to do asset and need mapping. So what do you have locally that can, or what do you have within the community already that can go toward meeting your needs? And then identify what are some of the needs that you have to meet your goals, and identify the gaps that you have, and then how to sort of recruit people and partners to fill those gaps. You want to understand the scope of the work that you want to do. So do I want to create a project that feeds people on my block more locally grown food? Do I want to create a watershed restoration project that's going to take 50 years to restore our lakes and rivers in our area? Okay, so the next step is recruit partners. And again, you want to be identifying the gaps that you have and recruit partners that sort of start getting toward the diversity of participation you need and want in order to support your goals. Determining governance and structure is very important. You need to understand early on how you're going to make decisions, so you can start making decisions and moving forward and documenting them. You need to gain commitment from a core team of stewards. At that point, it's a good time to discuss succession and what happens if and when your original team aren't available or are ready to move into different phases of work. If you want to become a pilot site, there's a memorandum of agreement that we sign, and we'll get into that. And then we say set up a time bank as an early step. And the reason we say that is because we just have developed a perspective and theory that a time bank is a really good way to corral a lot of the raw materials you need to carry out any project. And usually those raw materials are the time, talents, and energy of people. And in our experience, starting with a time bank is very helpful, partly because the 1 hour per hour exchange in a time bank is very simple and elegant and easy to set up, partly because the dynamic that it creates, in my view, is something that's very healthy and really breaks an economy down into its basic elements, which are people and resources and flow. And in my view, that really helps create some healthier ground and healthier basis of understanding from which to create more complex economic tools. So there's nothing at all that says this has to happen this way. And there's a question from the group asking if you need to set up a time bank first. No, you don't. You can start at any stage. In my experience, I recommend that people start with a time bank because of the simplicity of time banking and its ability to really help identify and catalyze and reward the sharing of skills and time and talent in your local community. And in doing that, that's where we point you toward the different tools for getting a time bank started, which are various types of software and games and orientation agendas and checklists and things like that. And we can point you in those directions. But I am going to open this up for discussion now. So happy to hear people's questions and comments. And I know that not everyone does start with a time bank, and I would like to hear from people who have started or who wish to start with other places too. So once again, bear in mind, we're not saying any of this is set in stone or a mandate or anything. We're just trying to start with what we've done and build off that and adapt it to meet other people's, or adapt it to meet local needs, whatever those are. So, yep, who wants to jump in with a question or comments? So I'll just go around and I'm going to ask the people who have pilot sites or who've begun local initiatives to share aspects of your process. And again, this is a really cursory list, so I want to talk a little bit more about how we bring people together to do these things. But let's just hear a little bit about what stands out for you in your own learning. And I'm just going to go right down the list. You're welcome to pass if you want to. Chris?
Yes, I believe the visioning part is essential. Making sure you have a clear idea of what your need is for time banking in Madison. You know, with the Dane County Time Bank, we've seen a lot of participation via like creating projects within the time bank, and so we've noticed a trend that people really like to engage in shared work. So when we get people together to figure out like what work do we want to do together, I mean, it's not just about a common purpose, but that shared work really catalyzes a community. So through that visioning process, that's usually where we try to head. And in Chicago, we're still moving towards that as we bring in people. Chicago's scale has been interesting to work with, and we're still bringing in new partners, and there's so many great things that are going on here, and so many people that want to be involved, and so we're still bringing in discussion around what our first initiative will be together, and it looks like there'll probably be multiple kind of starting at once versus just one, and that might be the same in your community.
Yeah, that's great, and that does seem to be the same thing that's happening here, and that's the goal of part of the goal of this structure is to really create something that can be fluid. People can come together around a common purpose and part ways when that work is done, and come together in different combinations. And this is one reason that having so much training in sociocracy is built into the summit here in Madison. So between August and 20th and 28th, we have in-depth sociocracy trainings every day, and these are about how we create decentralized, not very hierarchical or non-hierarchical decision-making and governance and accountability processes. And really, we're really going to learn about how to manage complex work in different circles of responsibility. So I think that'll really help guide us in how our pilot sites develop. Cool. Thanks for that insight, Chris. And Barry, being another Chicago area person, you probably have some other insights.
Well, my concern is about process. To me, process is extremely important, and what I found is that process develops with the people involved, and as I work with people, the process develops. It's more like a one step at a time, because of the complexity of the problems, especially on the Chicago West Side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and the same is true of the South Side.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and it's another thing that points to how whatever is created, like whatever we document that's modeled in one place, is going to be different based on the people and the conditions and the dynamics in any other place. And how do we sort of capture that, help people be comfortable with it, help people navigate it well, while still giving people something to go on. So it's a really excellent point.
So the way I see doing it, this is just my view of process, is to have a vision of what I'm after, and then the process and everything else, including the vision, may change as we go through step by step.
And then there's another, it leads me to mention another group that's coming to help provide guidance in this area. We have some art of hosting trainers coming here from Chicago, and art of hosting has been another community of practice that's really informed our work and has really helped us through our own local processes. So art of hosting has really created a lot of group discussion processes, ways for people to communicate, ways for people to work through conflict, work through visioning, project facilitation. So we'll get some more grounding there too. And again, yeah, and being comfortable with the fluidity that has to be built into a group process. Go ahead, Barry.
And one of the severe problems is just that lack of participation. That it's very difficult to pull people around in a circle for decision making because the problems are so severe, including alienation.
Exactly. Yeah. So yes, we have our work cut out for us, and it's exciting to tackle these things head on. And again, that's another one of the motivations about creating mutual aid networks. Is it is a way to really invite people in based on what they already care about. So, and that was mutual aid networks for us were an answer to a lot of different questions. But one of those questions was, how do we get time banking and other kinds of cooperative economic practices to really flow and to really be built into the fabric of people's lives? And we realized, well, one thing is currently people are drawn to these things in many circumstances. They're drawn to them because they realize they want a different economy, or they realize they want to build local community. A lot of people don't feel that way, don't realize those things, don't think about those things, completely understandably. And a lot of people who might not be motivated by that will be motivated by making sure that no one on their block is going for a day without food, or they'll be motivated by knowing that their elderly parent will be cared for, or that they can get fresh fruit out of the garden, or that they can maintain a clean drinking water supply, or they can travel and be hosted in someone's home. So again, finding ways that we can create these structures to fulfill people's dreams and motivations that they already have, or that they might not yet know they have, but really create the world that we want to live in by creating the opportunity for us to do the work to make that world and be compensated for it by supporting each other to do it. Bruce, any insights for you about creating a project or dynamics around that?
Yeah, My comment had to do with partnerships, and I think sometimes we can imagine all kinds of potential partners, and it's good to come back to a strategic view of partnerships because each partnership has to serve the broader purpose of the pilot site, and it has to have some sort of strategic value. So at some point, it's good to think about with partners when it comes down to the rubber hitting the road, what kind of things is the partnership about? Is it just about information sharing and keeping each other apprised of similar initiatives, or is it really operational in nature? Is there some sort of joint programming involved? And so putting things on paper and negotiating what that partnership is in point and fact, I think helps keep on track and helps from dispersing energy and time and effort on partnerships that might not really contribute to moving the pilot site forward.
That's a really excellent point, and it helps me think of some tools that we can share with people already. And an approach that has really worked for us in our time bank is when we're thinking about approaching a new partner, any organization or individual, what we like to do is first of all, look at their mission and how well our missions align with each other, and then also identify one need and one asset that they have and ways that we can support each other in that. So identify one need that they have that time bank members might be able to fill, and one thing that they have to offer that can benefit the time bank. And I think a lot of these same principles apply in looking into partners for mutual aid networks, and these tools can apply to help people evaluate when a partnership makes sense and how it makes sense. And then also we'll get into the memorandum of agreement too about mutual aid network pilots, but I know time banks and a lot of initiatives have different levels of formality with which they enter into agreements with partners. We tend to be very informal, but it's always good to just have a discussion about how you benefit, how your partnership benefits both parties. That's a great point. Thanks, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Hassan or Janelle, both of you, anything you'd like to share about your own process or questions or comments?
Yeah, I would say that the asset need mapping is really vital to time banking. I'm currently working on developing neighbor-to-neighbor care teams for some of our super utilizer patients, where healthier individuals would sort of surround each patient and fill in the gaps that exist in healthcare. So there are services that don't directly, aren't necessarily medical services, but they directly impact the patient's health. And I'm doing asset need mapping for that, and I found it to be really helpful. So I would say that's definitely essential to the process.
The other thing that stood out to us was the succession planning. I think that's really progressive. It's rare we see people talk about succession planning at all, especially in the beginning. So I'm glad to see that, and it challenges us to look at that. I mean, Janelle and I have been looking at how do we design a structure that kind of protects the values and the work that we're doing, so that if anything was to happen to either of us, the work can continue. And that's, great to see that on the checklist. And the sociocracy stuff, always amazing.
Cool. And I know that Kathy's coming, or I'm pretty sure she's going to be here for August. I'm not sure if either of you will be able to come for the summit. Do you know? So we'll definitely hope to connect with you online.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can now. We couldn't before.
Okay, yeah, neither one of us are going. But we would love to, but we won't be able to make it, so we'll be online, and Kathy will keep us updated.
Yeah, great. And then I'll make a visit out there sometime in the very end of September, very beginning of October. So we'll make sure to get some video of some of the stuff you guys are doing, and it's just extremely exciting. Thank you. So Laura, do you have anything you want to share about developing pilot site processes or anything from your own experience?
I wish that I did, because I've only worked in the for-profit sector this far. I don't have very much wisdom to share.
Well, we're really excited to work with you here now. So, yeah, good. Thank you.
Great. Yep.
Lori, anything that you want to share, ask, or comment on?
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hi. Yes. Okay. Well, I guess just to let you know what I'm up to, I have been working to relaunch a mutual credit system here in St. John's, Newfoundland for quite a while. I was operating one in the late 90s, early 2000s, which has been on hiatus for quite a while. We just needed to restructure things, find better software, and just organize things better. And it's taken me quite a while to get to that. But I've been very involved in cooperative development, community land trusts, permaculture, social enterprise development. I worked for a while with the Schumacher Society during the launch of the Berkshires program.
Great.
I'm really interested. I've been really interested in a long time on how we can integrate a lot of the different projects that are going on within the sort of new economics umbrella. How could we integrate a lot of these different programs using complementary currency or a variety of different complementary currencies? For example, how could you have a time bank and a straight up sort of let's style complementary currency operating side by side, or even other types of complementary currency. I'm interested in how could we possibly integrate it with things like the share program that was piloted at the Schumacher Society a few years ago. Again, that sounds similar to me to the Jack program that you were talking about.
Yes.
How could you integrate it with a community land trust? Things like that. I've been really interested. A few years ago, I traveled to Mondragon in Spain with the Praxis Peace Institute, and so we had a week-long seminar at Mondragon. We learned about the Caja Laboral, their cooperative bank, and it was so interesting to me how their cooperative bank was really deeply engaged in doing what it sounds like you're aiming to do, trying to help people to do what they want to do in their lives, for meaningful employment. If someone within the community wanted to start a new cooperative, the bank would work with them very closely and provide them with all kinds of different support to help them to develop their own cooperatives. So I'm interested in the role that a complementary currency system could provide in providing startup activities, whether it's helping to write business plans or other types of advice, as well as financing, and how could you integrate that with both regular money and complementary currency. So these are a lot of questions that I have, and I have some ideas, but I'd be really interested in collaborating with people on these ideas. A few weeks ago, I was at a permaculture design certificate course down in Massachusetts, and I met Vicki Robin, and I was I've seen her at other events, but we were talking a lot about this, and she said that I needed to talk to you, Stephanie. So
oh, wonderful! That's great. She's my hero. She's on our advisory board too. Well, I was just going to say, when you were talking, like you're saying all the things that we are aiming to do, and so my first question is, can you come here the 20th to 28th? And my second is, do you want to move here?
I'm dying to get there. The challenge is for me. It's a lot of these events are happening, in central North America, and I'm way out on the East Coast, so it's often very costly to get to these things. I am looking into it. I'll do my best.
Yeah, so if there's any chance of coming, that's great. And if you can't come, there are several sessions already available online, and there are two that might really help you and us get to some answers about how we connect these things. So we are really looking at co-op law and some aspects of how co-ops can be managed as a way to help bridge the savings pool piece, like the JAK Bank and the, I don't know the name of the bank in Mondragon, you mentioned it, but bridge that. So for example, so this is what we're going to work out, but we've talked with some lawyers already about it, and we think it's very doable. But using the structure in a co-op where you earn patronage points based on what you put into the co-op, and you get rebates based on that. So in my consumer grocery co-op, I earn patronage points for how much money I spend there each year, and then I get a rebate based on that. We can make patronage points based on totally different things. So we can have patronage points based on the amount of time you contribute toward the goal. It would be a group process to determine what you earn points for. It could be what you contribute to the infrastructure. It could be outcomes that you're achieving toward your specific goals for your mutual aid network. So we can create avenues where I'm contributing mainly time. It's mainly stuff I'd be able to earn time bank hours for. And then I could be eligible for a member rebate in money based on certain conditions. So there are ways that we can do it, and then a lot of other aspects too. But on the 25th, we'll have a session available online where we dive into the savings pool thing. We'll be joined by Stephen Hinton of the JAK Bank in Sweden, and also Phil Stevens, who works with savings pools in New Zealand, Janelle Horsey from Sustainable Economies Law Center. And then on the 28th, we'll have an in-depth session about how co-op law can help us meet all our goals, or as many of our goals as possible. And we'll be joined by David Spare, who's an excellent co-op lawyer here in Madison, Ann Reynolds from UW Center on co-ops, and probably some other people, but they're going to be our big guides through co-op law. So yeah, we really feel that we are coming to some understanding of some ways that we can connect these things, and it's great to hear your questions because they're the same ones we're grappling with.
Yeah.
And then we all need to take a field trip to Mondragon. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Our intention for our relaunch of our local currency is to incorporate as a cooperative as well, just so you know that.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Scott Murto. Anything you want to share about your process, or things that you, questions that you grapple with about what your process is?
Yeah, sorry, I started answering and my microphone was off. This has been a fascinating conversation. Really loved the comments on asset need mapping. One thing that I'd like to share is, and I'm going to put it in the chat, that asset mapping is a really cool thing overall, because it allows you to sort of start from a point of like, oh, we've got all these problems, all these things that we need to do, these pressing issues, and everybody's all sort of, ends up perhaps in a state of alienation, as Barry mentioned earlier. And when you approach things from just, let's see what we've got, what are our strengths, how can we combine these different assets and resources in our communities so that we can produce some synergies and create new things that we might not have thought about before, then problems get lessened, and it just allows a group of people to come together in really unique and novel ways. And what's wonderful about the MAN is that we are already, on the path of combining things in new ways, and and new synergies are just sort of a part of the framework inherently. So it just seems like a really wonderful process that one goes through when you're going through the memorandum of agreement, and it really jogs your thinking about, like, oh my gosh, like, what have we got here? How do we want to organize in new and novel ways? And it's a really exciting process. It's great. That was my only comment.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that. One of the things that I mention a lot when I'm talking about time banking, but it applies to many of these things, is it really changes your perspective, or at least it did mine and many people I know, where when you look around, instead of seeing lack, you see potential. And one way that I've begun framing sort of the goals of the man that I think is easier for people to understand is when you look around your local community and when you start to really identify what it is that people can do, what do people in your neighborhood know how to do, and what are the resources that are sitting around that are underused or available. As soon as you really start to identify that, you really can see how you can meet so many of your needs right there with what you have right there. So why do you need to use money to exchange those things? So it's kind of a matter of looking at things as concentric circles. Like, so what needs can I meet right here, and with the neighbors that I have, and a whole lot of those you theoretically and often in practice can meet those needs without money if you get smart about how you connect people. And then you start to see, well, where do I have to go outside my local community? And then what kinds of networks of support can we make with those people and those organizations? And it's really, I think when it comes down to it, we need money to exchange with the people we don't already know and trust and have relationships with. Once we have a really functioning system where we really can identify these ways to exchange with other people. And a lot of times people who aren't already using things like time banking or other kinds of mutual credit or cooperative savings pools, people will worry about other people taking advantage, or what if someone doesn't repay, and what if this and what if that. And I really need to stress for everybody that all of these systems have sort of their own rules and systems for accountability. And even the systems that are really based on trust and social connection are very powerful motivators. And in my experience, they tend to keep people honest much better than legal mechanisms or financial mechanisms. But there also are legal and financial mechanisms. The JAK Bank in Sweden has ways to test for creditworthiness. There are sanctions for not abiding by the rules and things like that. So we combine these things. We combine the trust and social connection, and we view that as a very valuable goal to work toward. And we also combine policies and procedures that really help to keep people accountable to each other. And really so much of what we're looking to do is taking things that have been tried and true, and some of these things used throughout human history, of course, sharing and supporting each other are very natural ways for people to be. That we combine these tried and tested things with new technologies, new understanding, new evaluations, new ability to really connect and exchange resources across distance. And that's what we're aiming for mutual aid networks. So I am going to draw this to a close. We just have 4 minutes before our hour is up. We're not going to really go through this whole pilot site application form, so this leads us to the Memorandum of Understanding. But when people become pilot sites, we really want to know that you're making plans for creating something that's intended to last, and that you're working on something that's going to be a mutually beneficial situation, that you've thought through your goals and your vision and your team and your succession plan, how it fits with the overall mutual aid network framework. And over the course of August 20th to 28th, we really intend to dive in and get some work done and really create more depth and breadth in a checklist for creating pilot sites. And we'll be launching a lot of our processes and tools. So again, I really want you to join us if you're able. You can find the whole summit schedule here on this page. I'll put it in the chat. And then I'm just going to go around one more time. If you want to say a quick checkout, please do. If you have one more burning question or something you want to throw out for a future session, please do. A week from today at the same time, 10 a.m. Central, we're going to have one more online session, and that will be focused on our project management and marketplace software, Weezer. We're going to be populating it with our projects and our offers and requests in advance of the summit, and so also we can have a greater understanding of ways that we want to adapt Weezer to meet our needs for when our programmers are here with us. So, so quick checkout or topic for the future, Chris?
Thanks, everyone. The memorandum is on the bottom of that form, so if you're interested in where that is, so feel free, and the link Stephanie put in the chat. So,
thank you, Barry.
Let's see. I mentioned problems in alienation. Scott, thanks for picking up on the asset issue. And to me, the south side and the west side there's so much despair and therefore tremendous opportunity for improving, for people finding much more satisfaction than they are right now.
Thank you. Bruce?
Steph, do you want to make a pitch for the Indiegogo campaign for?
Oh, yes. Please share this. We are getting closer to our goal, but we need to raise actually over $10,000 to pay for everything for the Man Up Summit. So please contribute. Please share the link with your friends, neighbors, people who support the kind of work that we're doing. We really need to raise this money. This is going to pay the airfare for everyone that we're bringing, and for a little bit of food and space. And we are doing this very inexpensively, but it does cost money to bring people from far-flung locations, and we're really going to get our money's worth with all the learning that we're going to do. So please, please contribute and share it. And thanks for the reminder, Bruce. Hassan and Janelle?
No, we don't have any questions.
Thanks so much for joining us. We're super excited to have you guys as partners. Laura?
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm just really excited to be a part of this, and I think that this is definitely moving in the right direction.
Great, thank you. Lori, you're on mute. Great.
Hi. I guess, yes, I mean, I just found out about the summit yesterday, so I'm just wondering if your website has information on possible accommodation and things like that, if we were to come.
Yes, actually, so far, I believe that we have lined up enough homestays to accommodate everyone we know who's coming from out of town, and I think that would include you, but we're planning to line up more. So people can give time credits for homestays, and we're just getting creative with that. So you can definitely have a way to stay for very cheap or free, or other forms of compensation.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, and we're working on getting bikes for people, and we'll really make it as affordable as possible for everyone who's coming.
Okay.
And fun. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Scott?
Great call, everyone. Really looking forward to seeing you all next week. And I'm going to be putting up my proposed meal plans for the cooking I'm going to be doing over there in exchange for some housing.
Ooh.
And so if anybody has any preferences, Indian, Thai, whatever, particular dishes, let me know.
Awesome. Very exciting. All right, we're going to have a great time together next week. We will record it all for posterity and maximum learning for the world. I'm actually going to present the recording and documentation of it in Brazil at the 3rd Internationally Complementary Currency Conference. So whatever we come up with, everyone will know. Yeah, very much looking forward to connecting with you in person or online during that and working with all of you in the future. And thank you very much. We'll talk to you next week or sometime soon, hopefully. Take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.